Hi folks, it's Jim Butler from Hidden Histories of Leicester, and today I thought I'd come to another place, a quite busy place at the moment, that you probably think you know quite well but may not know as well as you think, and that is Victoria Park. So the first thing I kind of wanted to point out and talk to you about is the fact that when the Romans arrived in Britain in 43 AD, it took them about 3 or 4 years to get to Leicester. And as they were coming to Leicester and getting closer and closer and closer, they were gathering intelligence. And so by the time they get here, they probably already know that there is an Iron Age capital settlement already in the valley of the city. And so they head to Leicester, and it's most likely that they come up that little alleyway there. So that is the Evington footpath. That is a Roman road, the remnants of, that would lead all the way to Colchester, the early Roman capital. So when the Romans first come to Leicester, odds are they come up that little alleyway, they get to this point here, they look into the valley behind me, and that is the first time the Romans ever see the settlement that we now know as Leicester. But they keep going, so once they've done this, they come up here and then they make their way into Leicester, or the Iron Age settlement. We don't know what it was called, and the road they use is also still here today, and it is that road there. That is New Walk. The line of New Walk follows the Roman road that those soldiers would have used almost 2,000 years ago. So this is the first part of Leicester that the Romans ever would have seen. How cool is that? In the medieval times, this part of town then takes on a different significance. It's a place where your everyday people would have come to see those people that have done naughty things come and get hanged. Up here on the corner of the junction where the park gates are, London Road, Evington Road, is where the medieval gallows stood. And most of the people on a good hanging day, it's a family fun day out. The people of Leicester would have headed out from the east gates of the town up Gallow Tree Gate, so the way to the gallows, and they would have flocked up here ready for a good day's entertainment. However, the hangman, the executioner, would have taken a slightly different route. He didn't want to get mobbed by the masses, so he would have left the town via the south gates, and he would have come up that old Roman road, which has now been renamed Hangman's Lane, and he would have walked up here, and here he would have carried out his duties as executioner for the medieval crowds. The first mention of London Road is actually on Speed's map of about 1600, and that actually calls it London Way rather than London Road. But it's clearly long before that there was a road that's heading down the side of Victoria Park, heading sort of south along the route to London. Now, in the late 1600s, you start to get turnpikes, so toll booths arriving across the country on major routes. And the idea of those is that people pay a toll to use the road, and that toll then goes to the upkeep of that road, because there's no councils and that sort of thing to sort of administer this. So the London Road toll booth was basically where the traffic lights are behind me. So the corner of Mayfield Road, London Road, Victoria Park Road is where London Road toll booth used to be. And basically, if you had a cart or a carriage or animals that you were taking along that road, you had to pay the toll. If you're a foot passenger, you don't have to pay. But that money is kept for the upkeep. However, by the end of the 1800s, sort of macadam, what would eventually become tarmac, is being used on the surfaces, and so it's much more durable, and so these toll booths are needed less and less. So eventually, the toll booth on the corner here is taken down brick by brick by brick and rebuilt on the corner with London Road, where the current park offices are, as a park keeper's house. In 1785, the Leicester Town Council decided to lay out a whole new grand promenade. It would be for the great and the good of Leicester to enjoy the cleaner air as the town's getting more and more industrial. They built that grand promenade right on top of the old Hangman's Lane, and in a phenomenal piece of rebranding, they named it New Walk. So New Walk then becomes this very stylish, fashionable place to be seen and also to live. So you get these grand houses being built heading up outside of town. Now that ties in beautifully, because in 1803, Victoria Park is cleared, as it was, from trees and shrubland, etc. and a whole new race course is laid out across the whole expanse of the land. And a purpose-built grandstand is placed here on the edge of the park for the people of Leicester to watch the horses go by. This is here until about 1868, when the horse racing track moves to the race course at Oadby. At that point though, that's when Victoria Park becomes the public park that we know it of as today. And it's named after the reigning monarch of the time, Queen Victoria. And for that time onwards, it's kind of used for more recreational uses, and even the likes of the Leicester Foss football team, who would eventually go on to become Leicester City Football Club, are using this space here for practicing and for matches. During the First World War, Victoria Park becomes the training ground for new recruits to get them up to speed before they are shipped off to the Western Front. After the war, Victoria Park then becomes the site to two monuments, effectively, to those that had fallen, the people of Leicester that had fallen in the Great War. First, there is the Lutyens Monument. So Edwin Lutyens is a world famous architect, and he builds not only the Lutyens Monument here, the Arch of Peace, as a remembrance to those that had fallen from Leicester. Actually, the gatehouses that now symbol the entrance to Victoria Park, they're also built by Lutyens as well. But also, just in the background, you can probably see, peeking through the trees, are some other buildings. During the First World War, the former Leicester and Rutland Lunatic Asylum buildings had been converted into the 5th Northern General Hospital, treating soldiers from the lines coming back here, letting them recuperate before they're being sent back out. After the war, it was decided that the town wanted a living monument to all those sons and brothers and fathers and grandfathers who had died in the First World War. They wanted a living monument, so the University of Leicester was created to be specifically a living monument to the fallen of Leicester, and its motto, Ut Vitam Habeant, something like that, means so that they may have life. So the whole purpose, it's only one of 2 universities in the entire world that is built as a living monument to the fallen soldiers of the First World War. During World War II, the park is essentially dug up and used for allotments to help feed the home front. On top of it also, there are placed searchlights, barrage balloons, all on about where these tennis courts are now, to stop invasions and bombers coming over. However, in 1940, one bomber does come over and it drops a landmine on the corner of the old pavilion, the northeastern corner, creates a massive 30-foot crater, and as a result, the fantastic pavilion building, which had been the grandstand in the Victorian times, has to be demolished. After the Dunkirk landings, wounded soldiers are brought back from the coast up to Leicester, and there's a temporary hospital built on Victoria Park, and nurses tend to the wounded there. Today, Victoria Park is used for much more recreational purposes, as you can see behind me. As well as that, obviously, it's hosted Kasabian concerts. It has huge Eid celebrations every year. The Caribbean Carnival is in place here, and of course, who could forget the Foxes celebration party after winning the Premiership in 2016. What a night that was. So next time you come up to Victoria Park, think about the Romans that wandered by. Think about the medieval people coming up onto the park area where the hangman was. Think about the horse races. Think about the allotments and the soldiers from the First and the Second World War who were treated here and hereabouts. And just remind yourself, you know what? Leicester's a pretty awesome place, and it has some cracking hidden histories. I'll see you again soon. Cheers.